Good morning. Today we are doing our last graph of this unit. No, sir, I do not ever want to see that. We are doing our last graph, the circle graphs. Because we don't have enough time to test this week with us not having class on Friday, we will be doing retakes Wednesday, Thursday. No class Good Friday, no class Easter Monday. Tuesday of next week, we will review. Wednesday will be the practice test. Thursday will be the real test. Okay? So we're going to do the test after Easter. So today we are doing a circle graph. So a circle graph is a graph that displays data as sections of a circle the entire circle is 100% of all data. So that whole circle, all the percentages need to equal to 100% because it's broken up evenly. So the circle is 100%. Circle graphs are used to represent, oh surprise, surprise, percentages. Because all those sections add up to be 100%. So they are all different percents. So here's an example of a circle graph showing the results of a survey about foreign language studies. So we can see, now mine is color coded, so it's a little bit easier to read, but yours with the different shades, you can still follow matching up the shades. So my pink is the Spanish, and that's 55%. The German is the blue, that's 5%. Italian is the polka dots, that's 10%. And the French has the lines, that is 30%. So we use that information to answer our questions. So you should make sure that you are on our notes page, not doodling. So close up that binder so we can focus. All right, what percentage of students surveyed studied French? James?
30%.
30%. If 100 students were surveyed, how many studied Italian? Who thinks they could answer that question? Lila?
10.
How did you get 10, Lila?
Because it's already 100. So I'm just trying to get the percentage into the number.
Because it's out of 100%, and then you have 100 students, so each student is 1%. So if there were 10% studied Italian, you would get 10. It's not always going to be that easy, okay? Usually it's not 100 people surveyed. It makes it easy because it's 100%. But if we surveyed the kids in our class, there are 27, not 27 here today, but we have 27 in our class. And then we put that into percentages to equal 100%, all 27 students. I'm going to show you how that works when we don't have such an easy number like 100 students equals 100%. Like down here, we have 50 students were surveyed, not 100. 50 students were surveyed. How many studied Spanish? What do you think? Well, you want to try this one?
30.
How did you get 30?
Because I split 100 in half and then I just added 5 to 25.
Ooh, I like your thought process. So what she said was, okay, 55% spoke Spanish out of 50, so she divided 50 by 2, divided it in half, because 55% is a little bit more than half. So she got the 25, and then she said, okay, I've got that 5%, so I'm just gonna add 5. That's where we went wrong. You were super close, but I'm gonna show you the mathy way that we're gonna do this. So to do that, I'm gonna scroll up so we can all see. But I like the way you were thinking. Okay. So we know that there are 50 students. We wanna find 55% of 50. It has been a while since we worked with percents. Who remembers what the of stands for? What operation? Liam? Multiply. What are we gonna multiply that 50 by? When we put it in our calculator, what should we put into our calculator, James?
0.55.
We're gonna turn it into a decimal. So we're gonna do 0.55 times 50. When we do it that way, what do we get, Lila?
27.5.
0.55 times 50? You got 0.5 on there?
No, 27.5.
Yeah. Okay, so, can we have half a person?
No.
No. So it's 27 students are studying Spanish, because we can't have half a person. Okay? So now, we know that 3 students studied German. How many students studied French? So this is different. We don't say 3 times point, 5. Well, 3 students studied German, but then we have to translate that into, well, how many studied French? So the way we do this is we need to figure out what our total number of students are. So we know that 3 students equal 0.05 times that whole number. We don't know what our whole number is. So here, we knew the whole number of 50, and we times it by our percent. So when we work with that, we have the part equals the percent times the whole. So this is going to be important for us to remember. The part equals percent times the whole. So it depends on what we know as to what we fill into that equation. How many total students are there if we had 3? That equals 5%. How do I find my whole by itself? What opposite operation do I have to do to get that whole number by itself? Divide. I need to divide out that 0.05. What is 3 divided by 0.05? What is our whole number, Emma? 60. So now that I know there are 60 students, can I figure out how many took French? How, Emma?
You can do 0.60 times.
Why 0.60? It's not, 60 isn't a percent. 60 is the whole.
60, well, 0.30 and
Yeah.
whatever.
I take that percent for my French. I want to find that part that took French. So 0.30 times our whole number of 60. So how many students took French? Kylie? 18. So this is my final answer. I had to do 2 steps for this. I had to figure out what our whole number was, how many students altogether. Then I could divide it up to see how many took French. Adeline?
I got my answer, but I didn't
What method did you do?
So I know that 5 equals 3, so I divided 30 by 5, and then I did 6 times 3, and I got 18.
Yep, so Adeline's using her number knowledge. She knew that 5% was 3. And to go from 5% to 60%, we multiplied by 6. So we could do 3 times 6 gets us that 18. It's not always going to be numbers that we could do that to, but you got the correct answer. Number sense, love it. Okay, sometimes we can work things a little bit different because our mind jumps that way. Totally fine. But if we had that 5% and then what if there were 27% took French? You can't go from 5% to that 27% easily. So that's why you would want to do it this way. So if the numbers work like that, you can use your number sense and go for it. Okay? Totally good, as long as we get that correct answer. So, when we knew the whole amount of students, and we just had to plug in the Spanish percent, we only had to do the one step. But when we didn't know the whole number of students, but we knew how many students took it, we had to do it this way, and then do this second step to find the French. So do we understand why we had 2 steps on this second problem? Okay. So let's look at this next one. Survey your class for everyone's favorite pizza topping. Display your results in a circle graph. So first, let's come up with 5 toppings. Who can tell me one topping? 80. James. Emma. Kylie. And Bridget.
Sausage.
All right. You get to vote for one. Okay? Because we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh, I just lost count already. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. We have 24 students here today. So we have a total of 24 students, so all of these are going to equal 24. So you get to vote for one. Raise your hand if your favorite topping is bacon. Okay. Raise your hand if your favorite topping is pepperoni. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Raise your hand if your favorite topping is cheese. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You already raised your hand, right? So keep it down low so I don't get confused. I said 5 for cheese, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, raise your hand if your favorite is pineapple. You put it on there and you didn't vote for it. Was that you that said it? Who said pineapple? Kylie, you didn't vote for it? All right. Sausage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 10, 23, 24. All right, so just for the sake of our chart, we're gonna include me on this. Even though I detest pineapple, I am going to say mine is pineapple, just so we can throw that in there and have those 5 parts. 25 people were surveyed, and we have 25 answers. So how are we going to, what do we have to do to take that information to make our circle graph? What do you think we need to do, Emma?
Let's put the data in the chart.
Before I can put it in the chart, remember circle graphs, do they have whole numbers that we put into a circle graph? What do they have?
Percentage.
percentages, so what's our first step gonna be? We have to turn these numbers into percentages. So we need to know 1 of 25 is what percent? So who can do that math for me? 1 of 25, 1 times 0.25. No, sorry. Nope, did that wrong. 1 person out of 25. So 1 person out of 25. So 1 divided by 25 gives us what decimal that we create a percent out of? Lila? 0.04. So what would that be? 4%. And down here we have a 1, so that's going to be 4%. Next we have 13. So 13 out of 25 people chose pepperoni. 13 divided by 25 would be what percent, Adeline? 52%. And then we have 5 out of 25 would be what percent? Aiden? So what percent would that be? 2%. Now, we can break our circle up. But does that equal 100%? That only equals 50%. Oh, yeah, because 2% didn't make sense, because it wasn't equaling to 100%. So what I did, my little checkpoint, did I do my percents right? Adding them all up should be 100%. So 0.2 is 20%. Now they equal 100%, because 52 plus 8 is 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So now I know, okay, I caught my mistake, I'd forgotten to put that 0 in there, it makes a difference. So now we're going to break our circle up into percentages. What's our biggest section going to be? Lila?
Pepperoni.
Yeah, that pepperoni is 52%. So 52%, it's not halfway, it's a little bit more than halfway. So I'm going to make my there, and I'm going to say about like that is going to be pepperoni at 52%. So I did the pepperoni. Now my next two biggest, 20% and 20%. It's not quite half, right? Because half would have been 50%. So I'm going to say, okay, we'll go like that. And then I have to break this in half because there are 2 that are 20%. I'm going to call one of them cheese and one of them sausage. And then I have 2 4%. So my last section, I'm going to break into those 2 sections. Try to make it as even as possible. One is going to be bacon. And one is going to be pineapple. So I always start with the biggest section, and I work my way down, dividing up into those smaller sections. If you know that one is bigger than halfway, bigger than 50%, make sure that section looks bigger than halfway. It's not going to be exact. We're not measuring it exactly, but we get a good idea. Any questions on that part? All right, let's look at our work page. So answer the questions about each circle graph. Remembering what we know, that if we need to work with those percentages, part equals the percent times the whole. So that part equals percent times whole. So I'm putting that at the top of my page so I remember how to plug my numbers in and know if I'm going to be multiplying or if I'm going to be dividing with those opposite operations. So what would be a reasonable title for this circle graph? I'm looking at what we have. We have grocery, automobile, utility bills, dining out, healthcare, saving, other expenses. What do you think we could call that, Maddie? Expenses. Okay, what we're spending our money on. If a paycheck is $2,000, how much money is put into savings? So savings is 23%. What equation do you think I'm going to use? What do you think, Liam?
2,000 divided by 23.
So, we are looking for our part. How much is going into savings? We know it's 23%, so remember to put that decimal, 0.23, and we're gonna multiply that by our whole number of $2,000. Okay, so our paycheck is $2,000. We're spending 23% of 2,000. We're gonna put that into our savings. So we're not spending it, we're saving it. How much are we gonna put into savings? Sophie? Say that one more time. $460. Now, if $180 is spent on utilities, how much is our paycheck? What's that equation going to look like? We know the part that's being spent on utilities. We know our utilities percentage, but we don't know our paycheck. So how would I write that out? Adeline? What is our part? Do we know our part? We do. Our part is how much is being spent on utilities. We're looking for that whole of our paycheck. The paycheck is that whole circle, how it's being spent. Okay. So we know our part, so we're going to fill in that part of 180 equals, we know our percentage for utilities is 12%, so 0.12. And we're looking for that whole number. How much is it all together? What is our paycheck? So now that I've put in my numbers into what I know, how do I solve that? How do I find my whole? Lila?
180 times
So right here, remember, this is multiplying.
divide.
Divide, because I want to do the opposite operations to get that whole by itself. So I'm going to divide by that 0.12. So what is 180 divided by 0.12? Liam?
15,000. Wait, 1,500.
1,500. So we could say 1,500 or 1,500 is our whole. That equals our whole. So when we divide it up, we see what our whole paycheck is. So we know the paycheck is going to be bigger than how much we're spending on utilities. So that's your checkpoint. Is your paycheck bigger than the part? Right? So we always have to look to see what is our part, what is our whole, what is our percent, and you're going to be looking for one of those pieces. So fill in what you know and solve for what you don't. So now, $725 is spent on groceries and dining out together. How much is the paycheck? So what do I have to do for this one? Got it?
1,000 .8.
0.8. If it's 8%, it's 0.08. Okay, so I wrote that down. Now what, Bennett?
Then
Hmm? 0.8 is my dining out. Am I multiplying when I see that and word?
and then we add the 725.
No. What do I have to add to my dining out?
The groceries.
The grocery percentage. That grocery percentage is 0.21. I need to add those together to see how much, because it says together. So I need to add them together. So that gives me 0.29. So I could have just said 21% plus 8% is 29%. That gets me that 0.29. So now I know what percentage to work with. Now what do I do? Keep me going, Bennett.
Minus 1.
Now I need to use my equation.
And then multiply it by the ordinate 1,500.
Nope, it's a different paycheck. So each of these questions is separate. It doesn't build on previous questions. Okay, this time we're saying, well, we spent $725 on groceries and dining out. How much is our paycheck? So I need to decide what's my part and what's my whole. We're not going to use the paycheck from the last question. New paycheck. What's my part? What's my whole? Kylie?
725.
And what's my whole? The paycheck. Yeah? Because I need to know how I'm dividing my paycheck up into that circle graph. So now I know my percentage and I know my part and I'm looking for my whole. So I can say 725, my part equals my percent times my whole. You following? So what do I have to do to get the whole by itself? Maddie?
Divide 0.29 out of 725.
Yep, I divide 0.29 on both sides. What is 725 divided by 0.29? Sophie? Say it aloud again. 0.04. Does that logically make sense? Is my paycheck going to be 4 cents? That's my touch point, my checkpoint saying, ooh, it doesn't make sense that my paycheck would be 4 cents. I did something wrong. I am guessing you might have done 0.29 divided by 725. Remember, that top number is what we put into our calculator first. 725 divided by 0.29. What did you get, Kylie?
2,500.
Say that again. 2,500 equals that whole. That's our paycheck. So if you get a really little number and it's supposed to be the whole amount, it doesn't logically make sense. Check to see where you went wrong. Happens all the time. But use your checkpoints and say, oh, logically it does not make sense. All right, so we have, let me scroll up. We have one more circlegram that you're going to work on your own and your time for review. So you're going to do that last circlegram, answer those questions on your own, and then do the review on the graphs. And if you are watching at home, I hope you are well. Come see me if you have any questions. Have a wonderful day.